My 50 male, daughter 19, has had issues in the past with me and her mother, my wife, 45. Things like lying and being a smart mouth. We couldn't go a day without us arguing, and it felt like I needed to walk on eggshells every day. Otherwise, she would start yelling and cursing. She has Asperger's, depression, and anxiety, and she's gotten treatment for the depression and anxiety and is now doing much better. But keep in mind that it wasn't always like this. She never had issues like sneaking out or anything, which I'm grateful for, but she wasn't easy to handle at all. Another thing to add is that she took a $20 bill from my desk and gave it back after I asked where it was, saying that she didn't want to keep it and wanted to see if I would notice. Anyway, on to the main issue. While I was working in my office, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye, and I looked and saw it was my daughter. I saw that she was looking around, like making sure no one was seeing her, ruffling around in her mother's purse, closed the purse, then jogged back to her room, smiling the whole time. I will admit I felt outraged then. It basically took me back to when I was fighting with her all the time and having to deal with her. And I was thinking, now she's stealing from us? The reason why I thought this is because why else would she make sure no one was watching her and then go through her purse? I was basically seeing red because I didn't care if it was a cent or $100 she stole from her mother. I got angry and I went into her room and I started to yell, asking why the heck she would do this to her own mom and that she should be ashamed of it, and she began to cry. I thought she was playing dumb, so I got angrier until my wife came in and asked what was going on, and I explained it to her. My daughter was trying to speak, but she was crying too hard, so my wife left the room for about a half a minute and came back with a very confused look, holding her purse and a little origami paper swan. At this point, I was confused too, but my daughter finally calmed down and said, I made a paper swan and put it in there because I thought it would be funny and cute, and you would notice it when you got ready for work the next morning. I was dumbfounded for a few seconds, and I said to my wife, Are you sure she didn't take anything? Not in an accusing way, more like in a confusion way. And my wife said no, nothing was missing from her purse at all. After that, we all stood in silence for a minute, and my daughter said, Can both of you leave for now? I need some time alone. We left her room. My daughter hasn't been talking to us, me or her mother, since last night, and I feel bad and my wife says I should apologize. But what can one assume when seeing a difficult person going through her bag? I was wrong, but it looked very bad. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Oh my God. The fact that you jumped immediately to stealing was a huge red flag. I immediately thought she'd put something in the purse, like a note or a present. Thieves generally don't grin ear to ear. They want to look nonchalant. Present givers do. The fact that you didn't talk to your wife first and verify that something was missing, and you didn't ask the daughter but jumped straight to loud accusations is horrible. You need to get therapy and anger management counseling before you lose it and hurt someone again. Also, gasp, a teenager has, throughout her life, lied to her parents and been a smart mouth? My God, why isn't she in juvie? If your boss publicly accused you of stealing and you were found to be innocent, would you expect an apology? On the contrary, you made a serious and hurtful error. You owe her a serious and heartfelt apology. Exactly. You're still blaming your daughter for your mistake. You made a big mistake, but it's her fault you made it. No, you made a mistake. Own you made a mistake and apologize. You mentioned a lot of problems between you and your daughter. Is this the type of example you set in the past? Not owning up to and apologizing for mistakes? Flying off the handle based on assumptions without getting all the facts first? Were those the lessons you imparted as a parent? Update. Hi, everyone. I've been thinking a lot, not just about this situation, but about my and my daughter's relationship. I've also had a long talk with my wife. I know I was definitely wrong here, and I did indeed hurt my daughter very badly. She's sleeping right now, but I will apologize in the morning and take her to Olive Garden, the restaurant where her favorite dish is shrimp Alfredo. I hope it ends up being a good start. I am taking any recommendations on how to word the apology to my daughter because I do want to say a lot of things, but I also don't know where to start. But thank you, everybody. My brother separated from his wife about a year ago, and he's been a wreck. She moved to the other side of the country and doesn't even talk to their kids anymore. My nephew, young teen, is clearly a wreck too, but he doesn't act or look like he is. He takes care of his little sisters more than my brother does, but he also acts very grown up. It's strange since he used to be the exact opposite only a year ago. I'm extremely disappointed in my brother. He should be more concerned about his son and help out more, but there's only so much I can do. I have 5 kids, 2 with special needs, and I live an hour's drive away. I try to help out, but it's hard. I drove over to check up on them and found the usual scene. My brother sleeping in his room, while my nephew's helping one sister with homework and feeding the other. The house was a mess, and it looked like my nephew hadn't showered in a bit. I made small talk with him while I cleaned up, and he accidentally mentioned missing all of school last week. I didn't say anything, but I was fuming. I went into my brother's room and woke him up. I didn't give him a minute and shouted at him. Told him to get his sorry butt out of bed and man the heck up. Told him I couldn't believe his young teen son was doing a better job than him, a grown man. He immediately got mad and told me that I wouldn't get it, that I should yell at his wife if I cared so much, and that I had no right to tell him to man up for being sad about his relationship ending and becoming a single dad who's trying his best. Something along those lines. I told him that I didn't see a single dad trying his best. I only see a sad and pathetic one. He got all red and told me to get the heck out of his house. He then called me while I was driving home to yell at me some more. On the one hand, I don't know what it's like. He's my brother, and he's been so numb throughout the past year, and he's never reacted like this. On the other hand, I can't just do nothing while he essentially robs my nephew of a childhood. Our other sister said that I didn't help anything and that I should try and be more understanding. Besides, our nephew's a strong kid, stronger than our brother. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It does sound like your brother's experiencing depression and is struggling, but to your point, that's not an excuse to leave the care of his children in the hands of his young teen. He needed this wake-up call that he was failing, and others were seeing it. If he needs help, he must ask for it from another adult in his life, not his child. Exactly this. It sucks that your brother's depressed, if that is the case, but that doesn't make it okay to force his oldest kid to take care of all of his other kids and give up his schooling to do so. Also, in response to the sister, our nephew's a strong kid, stronger than our brother. Kids aren't supposed to be stronger than their parents. That's awful that the sister seems to just be okay with this. OP, please call CPS. The nephew doesn't need to flunk out of school before people notice what's happening. No matter what crisis your brother's in, he's clearly unfit to be a parent right now. Someone needs to take those kids away. Missing a week of school is horrible. The kid needs a new living environment. They must step into this home and watch out for these kids. Disagree. CPS won't help. Dude, you need to help your nephew. He's going through parentification, and it never ends well. Who cares if he's strong? He needs an education and a social life, not to mention his sisters and their father. Also, if your sister says that didn't help, she can step up and pitch in. Otherwise, tell her enabling butt to shut up. Your brother is failing his family, and you'll have to intervene before it gets worse. I'm getting married in a few months, and we're about to send out invitations. My fiance's side is done, and we've worked out friends. The only thing left is my side. I thought I had everyone, but then I was reminded about my much older brother, Alex. Surprising because I thought everyone hated him. I was too young to remember very much. Still, from what I remember, and what people said for years after, he may have been the oldest, but there were no friends for him in the family, and it was very mutual. They said he was very troubled, overdramatic, and couldn't make a good decision. There was never a day without an argument. Some of it may have involved some girl, and many accusations were thrown around. He moved out at 18, when my sister and I were 4 and 8. After that, he cut contact with us. Since everyone stopped talking about him a few years later, I figured it was the same for them, but one of my aunts was keeping tabs on him. As time went on, the older relatives softened. For a few years, they all wanted to reconcile things with Alex. It's been slow going, but within 2 years, he's shown interest in coming out for a visit. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out with the holidays, so now everyone really wants me to invite Alex to my wedding as a show of reconciliation, to invite him back into the family, and so we can see everyone. I don't want to. I don't even know this guy, and I don't want my wedding to turn into some prodigal son family reunion. My family says I can't possibly know what was happening back then. They've changed their story to everything, just personality differences and normal teenage behavior that was getting blown out of proportion on both sides because he was the oldest son and the family was very traditional. Everyone is begging me to do it. My family was even offering to pay the cost to have him and his wife there, even though they weren't thrilled about his wife. Still, now they're upping it to paying half the catering cost if he's included. I still don't want to, but now my fiance thinks I'm stubborn and should just suck it up for that much of a discount. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, and absolutely not. I wouldn't want my wedding to turn into some long-lost relative who comes back to the family thing either. And what if it doesn't go well? Long-lost son returns is a dynamic that will overshadow the ceremony. You and your wife deserve to be the center of attention for this day. Just say no. He's had years to reconcile with his family. Why does your wedding have to be the venue? What if he decides he still hates everybody and shows his butt and makes a big scene? Not just no, but heck no. If the family's so determined to make this happen, let them plan, organize, and pay for a family reunion, or a big dinner, or lunch for goodness sake. Not your wedding. If folks want to reconnect, they've got 364 other days this year to do it, not at your wedding. All of this, OP. You could agree to have him come out after your wedding when people are still in town so it doesn't draw focus from you, but it's really your choice. Honestly, I'd be curious about meeting him if I were you. If he left at 18, he was a child when everyone blamed him for the falling out in your family. You don't know him. He's a stranger. He might be great or not. This could go horribly wrong and cause a rift for years. There are better ways to start out your married life. I, 44 male, have a younger brother, 41, and we are only children. Also, we're not from the U.S. or any Western country. My father passed away almost 10 years ago, and since our mother was also dead, we divided his estate equally. His estate was a farm of 12 hectares, 30 acres back then. It had a house, a barn, a pond, wheat fields, and olive fields. We both worked office jobs in the city and didn't want to be farmers. But after my dad died, my wife convinced me to quit, buy out my brother, and start a business with her. She had degrees in business and hospitality, and I was working in accounting. And that's what I did. I bought out my brother at market price. After that, my wife and I transformed the farm. We got government subsidies to make our farm more sustainable, transformed the area by the pond into a garden and romantic strolling route, and a fishing spot. And the closest farm plots were made into a pedagogic farm, and some made available to guests to rent, built small houses, built a stable, and bought some horses. We made it into a retreat where you can either spend the day, act as a farmer and have some authentic food, or rent a cabin and try farm life. The rest of the farm was left to the farmhands. Since we're barely 2 hours outside city limits, it's become a booming business. We're booked solid all year. We have schools coming for tours, activities every weekend, and couples throwing their weddings here. And after the first 5 years, we were able to pay off our debt and making great money. My brother used his money to buy a house, 2 cars, and his children's schooling. And they're living well, upper middle class by my country standards, but nothing like my family and me. Now he says that he wants in on the business and that what he paid wasn't fair. I told him no. He got what his land was worth back then. Now he's no longer talking to me. He's the only family I have left. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If he had invested half of the money into anything else, would he share the fruits of that investment with you? I don't think so. You had all the work transforming the place, and you had all the risk of it not working too. Also, you invested some of your own money to make all of that possible. He wants all the fruits of the labor without doing any of the labor. I get that you don't want to lose him, so maybe there's a calm way to talk about all of this, with a mediator present or something like that. He needs to understand that you invested the money and succeeded. But I mean, you could have failed too. And if you did, would he just give you money from his half? I could only side with your brother if you took advantage of his grieving and bought his share. I do doubt that this is a possibility, considering it must have taken some time for your wife to convince you to give up your career to suddenly become a farmer. Also, it's been 10 years. And he hasn't mentioned any regret during that time? It's clear your brother's having money troubles, or perhaps a midlife crisis. Either way, he got a fair deal for his share. If he wants back in, he can offer to repurchase his half. Yeah, don't worry. I'm sure if the business was failing, he would insist he got paid too much and give you the money back. OP, he got market value for his half. He used it up. You invested your time and money, and now you're getting your return on investment. No need to feel guilty. I, female 19, am in my first year of college, living with a roommate, Katie, female 19. Katie speaks 3 languages, English, German, and Spanish, and she makes it her whole personality. Whenever I ask what she's watching something in another language, so obviously I can't watch it. She's always listening to music on her headphones, and when I tried to bond and listen to what she was listening to, it was in another language again, and I couldn't stand it. Her friends all speak one of the languages she does. Whenever I hear them, I can't join the conversation because they mix everything, so I'm left out of their convo. The other day, I saw a new book on her desk, a Portuguese course book. I asked her about this, and she said she's taking private Portuguese classes starting in February. I told her she has to let it go and that she needs to develop her personality because speaking a language isn't a personality trait and she's just boring. She got really annoyed with me and told me I was an idiot and to stop eavesdropping on her convos. I told her she was boring and she had to fake her personality. Now she's not speaking to me. My friends are split. Some agree with me and some agree with her. Who's the idiot here? Am I the idiot for telling the truth? You are the idiot. Jealousy is not a personality either. She has a personality. She has friends, interests, and hobbies. Just because you don't like her music or can't keep up with her friends doesn't mean those things don't count. Your roommate has an interest and is engaging with it and with people who share that interest. Nothing's stopping you from also enjoying movies in another language. You could have asked her to turn on the subtitles. Between the two of you, you sound like the boring one, to be honest. You're lurking around your roommate, judging her for having interests that don't involve you. You were needlessly nasty to her because you can't speak the same language as she does. One of you needs to work on your personality, but spoiler, it's not your roommate. Also, super controlling. Why is OP critiquing her roommate's hobbies, friends, and musical taste and thinking she has a right to demand the changes? They're roommates, not life partners. This girl doesn't have to include OP in her conversations or movie nights. OP, maybe do some self-reflection because it sounds like you may be insecure and you're projecting that on your roommate.